Hi, everyone. Today in our gospel, we hear that familiar story of when the disciples are in a boat at sea and Jesus is catching up to them. So he's actually walking on water in the fourth watch of the night, and they are so terrified when they see him. They think he's a ghost. And Jesus says, "Do not be afraid, it is I." And then Peter says, "If it's really you, command me to come and walk out toward you on the water." And I think Peter's actions are very commendable at this moment, that he's so, he's calling it out. He wants Jesus to call him out so that he'll walk on water too. And he does it. He steps out of the boat and he walks on water toward Jesus. But all of a sudden, he starts to sink because he starts to see how strong the wind is and how violent the storm is. And so he calls out to Jesus, "Help me, Lord." Jesus says, "Oh, you have little faith. Why did you doubt?" I remember it's not easy to remember learning how to drive because it seems like such a natural thing. Once we learn how to do something that takes a lot of skill, after a while it just becomes second nature to us. But learning how to drive wasn't an easy thing, especially because you had to be so focused on watching the road. But there's a lot of other things to think about: where your mirrors are placed, who's behind you, what's going on everywhere. If there's kids in the car, that's a great distraction. But no matter what, whenever we drive, we're hopefully keeping our eyes fixed on the road, and we're able to deal with little distraction here or there, but we always come back to that central point. What's the most important point? We keep our eyes fixed on the road. This is the call for Jesus as well in our faith. As soon as Peter takes his eyes off Jesus, he begins to sink. And he takes his eyes off him because he sees other things that look to be threatening to him: the wind, the storm. We can get so caught up in the storms of life. We can get so caught up in these things that terrify us and that we worry about. And so we take our eyes off of Jesus. We stop digging into him and we start to worry more and more about all of the things that are happening in the world. We start to worry about things that aren't even coming to pass yet. And we take our eyes off Jesus. The lesson here is that we must always be focused on him. In whatever's happening, we always keep our eyes fixed on Jesus. We never want to keep our eyes off the road, the way that is Jesus, because he is the one who keeps us walking on water. That's what it feels like to live a life of faith that is truly given over to the Lord in trust. That it feels like we're almost walking on water, that when all the storms of the world are happening around us, that we can continue to keep our heads and our feet even above water in a miraculous way. That's how Jesus teaches us to live in this world, and that's how we're called to live. To be totally devoted to him, to be totally trusting in him. That even when the storms of life come, we can say, "Jesus, I trust in you. You can take care of this," and put all of our trust totally in him. And that, my friends, is water walking faith.